Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud to get it automatically. You can catch the show on the Stitcher app if you use that. If you like using YouTube to listen to audio for whatever reason, I've been uploading the episodes there as well. Like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. My email is josh@myfirstsketch.com, and follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. Here's your weekly reminder that My First Sketch will be live during Philly Podfest on July 23rd at Philly Improv Theater's second stage. It's a 4:30 p.m. Sunday afternoon show. And the guests for that live edition will be the incredible shrinking Matt and Jacquie. Tickets are available at myfirstsketch.com/July23. But today's guest is Mike Butler. Currently a member of Adventure Friends, his first sketch is called Fictional Moments in Breakfast History, about the creation of Thomas's English Muffins. Ross Regan and Jonathan Forsater played Joey and Tommy, and Mike Butler reprises the role he played when it was first done on stage as the offstage Maria. And per usual, I tell you whatever visual information you need to know. So let's get to the sketch. Interior kitchen. Joey is sitting at the kitchen table eating a buttered English muffin. Tommy is standing by the kitchen counter watching him eat. Maria is off stage. Both are wearing guinea tees and black slacks like they're from the late 1800s, early 1900s, New York as Italian immigrants. But they speak like modern-day Jersey Shore Italians.
Tommy, this muffin is freaking amazing.
Yeah, you like it?
They're goddamn delicious. I never seen anything like them in my life. You make these?
Sure did. Been working on these for a while now.
Dude, what are these little holes in here?
What? The nooks and crannies?
Yeah, they're great. It's like you're giving the butter a place to hide.
You should try it with jam.
Tommy, are you talking about those goddamn muffins again?
Maria, please, I'm showing them to Joey. God, I love her, but sometimes I just wanna...
Mimes choking and backhanding Maria.
How do you split these open? Don't look like no knife did this.
They're fork split. You just jab a fork all around and it opens right up.
Dude, that's genius.
Actually, I got the idea from you. Remember what you told Bobby Piccolini if you ever caught him with your sister again?
Yeah, I told him I'd split his goddamn freaking head open with a fork. Freaking genius, dude. These things are gonna be huge.
I know, right? I'm gonna make a damn fortune with them.
No one cares about your goddamn muffins, Tommy!
For the love of Christ, Maria, could you be supportive for once in your life? These muffins are our ticket out of here.
So, what are you gonna call these things?
Tommy's Italian muffins.
Joey does not look impressed.
What? What's wrong?
I don't know. It's not clicking with me.
No one's gonna buy muffins from a goddamn Italian, Tommy!
I swear to the Virgin Mary yourself, Maria, you say another word, I will slap you so hard your relatives in Sicily will hear it.
She's got a point. No one's gonna buy muffins from an Italian.
All right, smart guy. Who would you buy muffins from then?
I don't know. An Englishman?
An Englishman, eh? Then say hello to Mr. Thomas and his delicious English muffins.
Joey and Tommy high-five each other.
No one's calling you Mr. Thomas, you crap ass!
God damn it, Maria!
Blackout. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, so tell me about the sketch.
This was born out of just a random factoid that somebody told me that Thomas's English muffins are not actually English. They were made by an American.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
So I just thought, well, if an English guy didn't make them, who would have? And then I just thought of that.
yeah, because Thomas's English Oh my god.
Thomas's
English muffins. I remember them. I had a copy of Great Muppet Caper that we had taped off of television, and I watched that a lot.
Right.
And it still had all the commercials in it. And for whatever reason, Thomas's was like every other commercial break. Mm-hmm. So I completely remember, the old English, like
with the nooks and crannies.
The commercial is very much about it being actual British food.
But it's not. No, I don't know where I got the factoid from. Probably someplace on the internet.
I'm sure.
But I was eating Thomas's English muffins for breakfast a lot of mornings, and so that stuck in my head. I might have been offended by them not being British.
You've fallen victim to a ruse.
Yeah, it happens.
When was this written?
This was written. Facebook reminded me of this. It was written about 2012, 2013 because I performed this. I picked this one because this is the first thing I did at SketchUp, and this was 2013 at the Shubin.
Okay.
Facebook reminded me of that because I put a post up. Hey, I finally got a SketchUp at SketchUp, and Tom Whitaker and Joe Spampinato volunteered for that. And I was Maria behind the curtain.
Okay. So that's. I know you listen. I know so you.
I might be your regular listener here.
All right, calm down. There's other people. You're not the only one. Cool out. So you're going to know the questions before I do. Growing up, what did you watch? What were you into?
Oh, I watched a lot of stuff. That was the golden era of the sitcom. So there was the Thursday night must-see TV when it was Cosby. I think they put Family Ties there at 8:30, Cheers at 9, and then Night Court at 9:30. So Cheers and Night Court, that whole Thursday night was.
Were they putting that run as must-see TV yet? Is that
might have been the start. That might have been the start of must-see TV, or that's where they got the idea. Hey, Thursday night is where we put all our heavy hitter shows.
Because I think all of my experience with all those shows is just in syndication, just being everywhere else on the UHF channels growing up.
Right.
Because I never really saw them live because I don't know, I wasn't up or.
No, I'm older than you. A lot older than you think. I will tell you how old, and you will be surprised.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm 38.
I was going to say 37.
So about when Cheers went off the air, what was that, 93? I was graduating 8th grade.
Right. So it's sitcoms.
So it was sitcoms, and then I watched a lot of Monty Python as a kid. Either it was on PBS or cable. It would pop up. SCTV, Saturday Night Live was the standard, and I watched that through the 80s into the 90s. Mystery Science Theater came out. It was about 92, 93, when Comedy Central hit.
Right.
And I remember being about 12, from 11 to 13. You kind of grew up in that age where it's I don't want to watch cartoons anymore, but I got to watch something on TV.
You still want to be a little silly about it.
Yeah, I still want to be. Yeah, I'm not watching the news, but I think I might have grown out of cartoons here. I'm reaching that age of 12.
You don't want to go to totally serious TV, so you need something to bridge that gap.
Right,
and I guess Mystery Science Theater is a decent.
Right. Well, just watching Comedy Central all day, which was all Monty Python, Saturday Night Live.
Right. I mean,
all like stand up, the stand up clip shows from short attention span theater.
Yeah, because you mentioned it's the golden age of the sitcom, but you're also at the advent of Comedy Central, where I didn't have cable growing up, and if I had Comedy Central, that's all I would be doing. That would be my entire life.
And that was pretty much
yeah,
up through high school, and I was also the time. When Ren and Stimpy first hit, and Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah. So then you're gonna go back into cartoons because
there was that. Yeah, it was we'll go back into cartoons because these ones are weird. And
Simpsons proved that cartoons can be for adults too, and
exactly
all the other networks started going back that way. Growing up through the advent of Comedy Central, is there something specific that you remember as being like really huge for you?
Mystery Science Theater was huge because it was the formative show of my upbringing, because over the course of 2 hours, it was just such a barrage of like jokes and references.
Right.
And other people who've talked about the show, like on interviews, will tell you, like, the more you know about not just culture but other things, the more jokes you got,
Right.
the funnier the show was. So, that affected me. I was like, I want to know more about stuff, so then I can get more references, and the show becomes funnier.
Yeah, I never watched Mystery Science Theater like the original run, and I don't know. I've only seen a couple episodes since then. I've seen a good chunk of the new series with Jonah Ray, and there's a part of me as I watch it, I'm just like, there's a high joke per minute ratio. And it's way more referential than I realized it was, like, because I didn't have that experience of the original, to the point where I'm like, how much is this going to survive 3 years? Like how much does the reference live on as a joke instead of just like as a dated?
It depends on the reference.
I'm sure.
I do recall the original run of Mystery Science Theater, when it had references, it didn't necessarily rely on current references, so it wasn't trying to be topical.
Right.
But it would harken back to references that were part of a shared experience for people, I think. So, I mean, when Joel was running the show, I think there was a lot of more references to like 70s television that he grew up on going into the 80s. So there's a lot more references to that in movies and such.
Are you a Joel guy or a Mike guy?
No, I don't get into that fight. They're two different. It's two different flavors. Joel is a much more easygoing host. Mike was a bit more pointed.
Okay.
So it's
Again,
what flavor ice cream do you want that day?
I think I've only seen Joel episodes, so that's just my complete
I don't think
inexperience.
I say that you can't go wrong with either. I'm not
like there's no dip in quality. There's just a dip in.
It's not a dip in quality. It's a different style. It's a different. They were starting out. They got going. Joel left. They kept going. They lost people. They added people.
Yeah.
But it's still I still love Turkey Day when they run episodes on Thanksgiving. That was when they stream them online now, and I'll sit there and watch them all Thanksgiving.
There's a bunch on Netflix now, I think, with the new series going on.
Yeah.
All right, so Saturday Night Live, you mentioned watching it with Comedy Central and everything. Who's your favorite cast member?
Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey.
I've thought about this because I've listened to the podcast a lot, and a lot of people want to say Phil Hartman. I say that's what your brain says. I want to say what does your instinct say? What does your instinct say? What is not necessarily your heart? What does your instinct say?
I think a lot of the people that say Phil Hartman, I think we say it because we are so in comedy, so we see all of his positive attributes. Like Phil Hartman at that time is someone that can do anything. Like he's the perfect role player for that kind of show, but he's not necessarily always the funniest. He's generally the straight man more often than not, like, or at least, playing the dad, playing the husband. Like there's a lot of roles where he's not the comedic shining star. Dana Carvey generally is the funniest person in the sketch,
right,
in most of his sketches.
Yeah. And that's what I latched onto.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
church lady, the cranky old man on a Weekend Update, and we liked it.
Yeah. Like the first time I saw that, I think it was like some compilation best of. I don't think I've ever seen like a full segment of that character, but he was talking about like some hurricane and a piece of wood going through his head, and we liked it. And then he was miming holding the pieces of wood and dancing with it with his head bob, and it's just so stupid and weird, but I loved it when I first saw that. All right, so what else are you watching until you get to, like, as you grow
As
up?
I grow up, all right. Well, SCTV was on as well. Kids in the Hall was on. Comedy Central had a lot of like just shows that like lasted like maybe a year.
Yeah, because Comedy Central didn't do much original programming.
No,
the original program that they did was mostly like wraparound of clip shows.
Yeah,
like
it was clip. Yeah,
short attention
it was
span.
Clip shows and Mystery Science Theater, which was running out of Minnesota. There was a sketch show called Almost Live out of Seattle.
I've heard of that.
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye. I think Joel McHale got his start on that show too.
Yeah, he was on later on the show.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was on Comedy. He might have not been on Comedy Central anymore. But I clearly recall that show. Exit 57, which was Colbert's
right, the
sketch show with before Strangers with Candy.
Where he had just left, or he might still have been part of Second City while he was at Exit 57. But all right, so what is your entry point to live comedy and doing it? Where do you go from fan to participant?
I went to college. I went to Cabrini College over in Radnor, and they had an improv group.
Okay.
And I'm a freshman in college. I don't know what to do. I go see the improv show, and I realize, oh, wait, this is Whose Line Is It Anyway? I watch this all the time on Comedy Central.
Right.
Short form improv, yeah.
I was about to ask if Whose Line was a thing yet. Like,
yeah, no, it was.
But
it was
the
running.
British would have been on.
It was
Central
running
already.
from the beginning of Comedy Central. It was.
Yeah.
I remember the early episodes where Clive Anderson was really uptight hosting the show in the early days, and then they loosened up, changed the set, and it was all good. Yeah, no, that ran through high school. So I got to college. There was an improv group. I needed something to do. I didn't know what to do freshman year, so I joined that. Mm-hmm. And I stayed on that troupe for about until junior year.
Okay.
That's where I met Jess Snow and Matt Holmes because they came in a year after me.
Okay.
And they joined the Cabrini troupe. And they stayed till graduation. I had left junior year to do other stuff on the campus because I kind of burned out on improv by the year 2000. Mm-hmm. So I did radio and newspaper stuff. So then I graduate college. I work data entry and at a radio station. Okay. I was a weekend board op for these brokered talk shows on the weekend over at 9:50 a.m.
What is that now?
Is it ESPN Deportes now or no? That's 12:10. No,
that's one of the channels that have had multiple format changes. in the last couple
because
years.
because it was WPEN 950, they played standards, which were songs that were older than oldies during the day, but on the weekends they sold time to people to have their own talk shows. So I was board opping shows such as Dining Around with Frank and Mary Jelinek.
I was like, are these like Crazy Pants or are they just?
No. For the most part, they weren't Crazy Pants. The Jeleniks and their daughter and son-in-law who ran the show, they were the nicest people. Then there was the car show with Michael and Frank Delario. They were car dealers out of Ambler. They were supposed to talk about cars, but I think they just dicked around for 2 hours. It was like, whatever, you bought the time.
So it wasn't necessarily like public access where any
No. You had to broker time. I mean, like in between those shows, we were either running like infomercials.
There had to be a real.
They were running or like live infomercials for quack doctors or supplement people. Mm-hmm. Later, the car guys left, and I actually was running the board for Councilman Frank Rizzo Jr.
Okay.
Not his dad. His dad had been dead for 10 years.
Okay.
By the time Frank Rizzo was on. So it was him, and I ran his show after, and then the station changed formats to oldies, and then they changed to sports talk. Mm. So then I started doing So then for like a year, I was board opping sports talk shows and the Frank Rizzo show because he paid up for the year, I guess. So he was still doing the show. And then about 2006, I think they started cutting board ops. That's where I met Andrea Duffy. She was working at 95.7 at the time. So it was the weirdest thing when I saw her join up for saw her in the Adrian lobby, and she signed up for an improv. I was like, what? I haven't seen you in like 5 years. What are you doing here?
All right. So you mentioned that you stopped the improv. Mm-hmm. You stopped doing the improv group at college and junior year.
Right.
Where do you get back to it?
I get back to it in about 2010, and the likely story that I think you've heard a lot on these things. I was unemployed at the time.
That is a recurring theme. Yeah.
I was unemployed, and I really needed something else to do with my time other than job searching. So at the time, Just Snow had put up something on Facebook about the theater doing a fundraiser, and I looked at it I looked at the theater and I was like, maybe I should take an improv class and try to get back.
Was that the
into
first
doing things?
Was that the first attempt to get a permanent space?
Yeah,
that fundraiser.
Yeah, they were still in the Shubin, and this was this was the first shot at getting a space, and people forgot about it for like the longest time.
Right.
So that was that was about 2010.
Right, because in 2010, for a lot of the people that are only used to the PHIT being at the Adrian, Philly Improv Theater rented out space at the Shubin. They were doing like 4 nights a week, 2 weeks of the month.
Right.
And that was it. Like
occasionally they could get the whole month.
Yeah, yeah.
Like 1 month, 1 or 2 months, maybe in the summer, or maybe again in the fall, they would get the whole month. But it was only 2 weeks out of the month. And I think it might have been like Thursday. It was like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and then you had a couple house teams. There were a few house teams at that point of improv. There was no sketch house teams, but there were sketch shows because you still had Secret Pants, Camp Woods,
right.
A couple other groups happening.
Yeah.
And then like the show that I would go, and then you also had like TV Party, Guilty Pleasures, Chip Trantry's one-man show for a while.
Right.
Like it wasn't the weekly, nightly PHIT that we know now. Like
right. They were still getting up to speed. They were carving out their space, and they were raising money that are all right. We want to do more, but we're going to need a permanent space. So they did a fundraiser, and I remember I gave some amount of money to it, not a lot.
Right.
So I'm not waiting for my plaque. Like other people are waiting for their stuff for that. But
and then the same thing with the permanent space now. There were whatever classes that were offered at random spots all over the city. All right. So do you do the classes like?
No, my classes are all at the Adrian.
Okay.
I'm like a weird middle generation where it's like I wasn't like one of the first ones in.
Right.
Where like, all right, we're doing, class over at a art gallery that's closed right now.
Because that was my Sketch 101 was in an art gallery.
Right. Or down at the or that place in Rittenhouse,
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called, but yeah.
Some Humanities Center or something. No, all of ours were at the Adrian, but at the time they weren't as regular as they are now. So you just had to wait till the class that popped up on your that you could schedule in came up. So that's why it took me 2 years to go through the curriculum. A lot of people are getting through it at like a year now.
All right, so Improv 101.
Improv 101, Kristen Shear.
201.
Mike Marbach.
3.
Greg Mon.
4.
Kristen Shear again.
Conservatory.
Steve Kleinedler. We were Hydra a year before the Captain American movie came out.
Okay.
So...
But it's not like Hydra is not
it's
not a word.
Well, yeah, but Hydra. I picked Hydra because the form we did was I thought it resembled a 7-headed beast.
Okay. What was the actual form?
The format where it was everybody lines up and each person steps forward and says the first line of a story.
Okay.
They want to tell about something, about the topic we pulled from the audience, and so in this show each person would go say the first line, and then somebody would come up, tell their story. They would do 3 scenes about words that came up in that story. Then somebody else from the line would come up, tell their story. You do 3 scenes. And this would go on until everybody told their story. Everybody lined up, said the first line of their story again, and then we do a run of just chaotic scenes, harkening back to all the stories that happened. It was like a 45-minute show. Okay. So we could run 3 scenes over 7 stories. That's 21 scenes to begin with, plus however many you got through the run. You're looking at like a 30-scene improv show in 45 minutes. Okay.
Where does so you have Masher? You get the house
Masher,
team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But that didn't come until 2000. I didn't get cast on that until about late 2014. Then we started 2015.
Okay. Because I think
I have a long track record of not getting on house.
I was about to say, like, because if I remember correctly, you were one who auditioned for basically everything.
Yes.
And then
I was with the Masher audition. I was 1 for 6. And then after Masher was cut and I auditioned for the groups that replaced us, that makes me 1 for 7.
Oh, that's all right. You get the one. The one's the important part. All right. Adventure Friends.
Adventure Friends
is your main sketch property at this point, or at
Yes.
least your main sketch idea.
It's the only thing I'm doing right now.
Right. It's you. But it didn't start as you, Quentin, Shannon, and Nina. Like,
No, it started as Jen Curcio and Friends.
Right.
She put the show together to do a sketch Harold, and I knew Jen Curcio because we were in Page 1 together, and
Okay.
we were friends through improv anyway. She said, "Yeah, you're weird. Come on, do this do this sketch show." Which I'm all right. That's fine.
okay, the first time that you say a word that let's stop with that. First time I saw Adventure Friends, I didn't know you guys were doing a Harold. I was just there was a
You're just thinking we're calling back the scenes.
yeah, and there's a weird cadence to me where I was like, these are callbacks, but they're not quite like I didn't know there was a Harold. So let's talk about the Harold as a sketch form.
Right.
Where does this come from? Like, other than being improv people?
It was So Jen Curcio says, "What if we do a sketch show like the Harold?" And the Harold is just a format for improvisers to use to structure a show. It usually consists of an opener that sets the mood. That's where people get the suggestion,
Right.
and ideas are mined through whatever opening process it is. It's a story, it's word association, it's a song, it's whatever they're comfortable with, and then you do 3 scenes based on the information from there, and then there's like a filler in between to break it up, and then 3 other scenes that either relate directly back to that other scene, or tangentially related to that scene or the themes of that scene.
Yeah.
There's a connection to it where the audience goes, "Oh wait, I can recognize this. We're building off of this previous idea," and ideas are heightened, ideas are explored, fun is had, and then there's one more group game filler before the ending where things start tying together,
Right.
or things conclude.
And most of the Adventure Friends shows still hold to that Harold format
For the most part, yeah. We hadn't done it in a while, but we started getting back into it with our latest show that we did at Philly Sketch Fest.
Right. What is it? Panera?
No one deserves to die at a Panera.
Because I've just been calling it Panera. Like,
Yeah. You don't have to say the whole thing.
yeah, it's not my show.
It's the Panera.
You
show.
have to know the full title of it. I don't.
Right.
Because I noticed that there was that weaving again of, which is going to be the show that's happening at PHIT. But doing a Herald like this instead of improving it out and writing it, what is the process for you guys?
It usually comes from just a basic either word or idea. I mean, this current show, the Panera show, came from a conversation I had online with Jen Curcio, and she was talking about an incident she had witnessed at a cozy, and us doing, dicking around online,
Right.
bouncing jokes about each other. I wrote down, "No one deserves to die at a Panera," and we found that very funny. And Quentin said, "We're doing a show about that."
Okay.
And so that's how we got the title for the show. And they're, all right, so now we have a title for the show. Now build off of that. Or what does nobody deserves to die at a Panera
So
mean?
that was your theoretical suggestion from the audience, like...
Right. We've done things where we just shot a word at each other. Like, I think one of our sketch heralds was about fire. And we just said, all right, though, the word is fire. Let's go write some sketches. What does fire make you think of? Start writing sketches about that. And that's pretty much it. There's not that much to it. I mean, it's just kind of something strikes you and go, hey, do we want to do a sketch herald just based off of this title, this word? this feeling. And then we go from there, or I go from there, because I do a lot of writing. I'm a very prolific writer. As Quentin and Shannon will go, Mike just throws down a bunch of scripts and
so it was Jen Curcio and friend, Curcio, right?
Yeah, Jen Curcio.
Jen Curcio and friends. How does that evolve into the current Adventure Friends?
Jen moves to L.A.
Right.
So we did at least 2 shows together as Jen Curcio and friends. And so after Jen leaves for L.A., Shannon and Quentin get in touch with me and say, hey, we want to keep going, doing these sketch heralds, and we worked well together, we had fun together, and we decided, all right, we'll keep going. And Adventure Friends was based off of a sketch from the first show that we
Quentin
did.
saying that it's a nod to a previous sketch.
Yeah.
And okay, so I had seen the Panera show at Sketchfest, and it's written. You and Quentin have the writing credit on it. Right. But you also do stuff online with Shannon. Like, there's a couple of videos.
Yeah, there's the Future Women of Science series. That's how many episodes is that? It was about 10, 11 episodes of that.
Where does that come from?
That came from, I had sent Shannon a video of, if you remember the game Portal 2.
No. I'm not a gamer,
You're not
so
a gamer?
I don't know.
Okay, well, Portal 2...
I know the thing. I know it exists.
Yeah,
I've heard that word before. But.
Right, but in promoting the game, they made these product videos of the company that's involved in the game.
Okay.
And it's voiced by J.K. Simmons.
Okay.
So he's selling these turrets that shoot the entire bullet at people and can be used to keep babies safe. And so he's talking about science. The latest technology is here, and it involved with science. And then I just started thinking of Shannon wearing a lab coat and an eye patch.
So that was the start of that.
Yeah, and it was also by the time Whiplash came out, so there was the scenes of J.K. Simmons just yelling at people, which we found hilarious. And Shannon was like, "Yeah, these are your scenes, Mike.
Just keep going with it.
These are your scenes of J.K. Simmons just telling people he's going to rip their heads off." And also I was thinking, all right, well, I want to talk, get Shannon talking about science with that sort of J.K. Simmons patter. And I thought of Future Women of Science, because at the time there's a lot of news stories out about, we need to get more women in STEM, in science and technology and engineering and mathematics. So I was like, all right, well, there's the angle. We're going to make a bunch of instructional videos where Shannon, as Dr. Emily Trocadero, tries to convince women to get more into science, and how does science apply to your life.
Okay. And then with Adventure Friends, I mean, I know for a while there were guest actors in and out, but you've basically been that foursome for the last year or so.
Yeah, once we added Nina full-time,
I
think we decided to simplify things and just have the 4 of us instead of trying to go out and recruit people.
Yeah.
Which, we've had some success from varying, various degrees of success getting people. We had Catherine Amrine, Andrea Susnick, Jake Matera was in there, Pat Reber, and everything.
Right. I think, because I think that, the first time I saw Adventure Friends, there was like 7 people. Like, there was a lot.
We had gotten a lot.
There were a couple other guest actors that.
Yeah, we were splitting up the work a lot. Because we the way we wrote the sketches, we have this many people we need for sketches. We want to break them up so people are good to, aren't overwhelmed with trying to remember lines.
Yeah.
Trying to remember my lines. I write a lot of dialogue.
All right. So with that, I think, am I missing anything with sketch?
Well, the one thing I did, Vaginamite wasn't Adventure Friends. That was my own solo project.
Right.
Which had the Adventure Friends in it.
Right. No.
But I had always wanted to write a sketch magnum opus, so to speak, and I did. That was right after I'd taken Sketch 101 with Joe Moore.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
No.
Is that all you did? Just the 101?
I only did 101. Because the 201s at the time.
When was 101 with you?
101 was about late 2014 into 2015.
Okay, so it's pretty early in Joe's time as an instructor, I think. Maybe.
It might be. I'm not.
I might be making that up. I'll edit that out.
But I
That's
liked
wrong.
I liked him.
Was there anyone else in that sketch class that's still doing things, or
Nina was in that sketch class.
Okay.
That's how I met her.
Okay.
And I was like, "Hey, you're cool. You want to be? You want to be in some shows?" And she's like, "Yeah." And we like you. Stick around.
Mhm.
Gene Meyer was also in that class.
Okay.
Stand up, Gene Meyer.
And then what? All right. As we're wrapping up, what? The Pat questions that ask everyone. What's something that you've learned from comedy? Either a life lesson or just something practical that you'd pass on to.
You just never know where you're going to meet the people you work with
Mm-hmm.
and the people who will stick around and do stuff with you.
Yeah.
We met during Promania.
Yeah.
That's how we know each other, and that's how I met people that I work with to this day and are good friends with. That's where I met Joe Moore. That's where I met Greg Gethard. That's where I became really good friends with Joe Gates, and Jana Savini and all that and all those. So it's like people that I still work with and call friends today. They can come. You can just meet people doing things, and you don't know if you're going to meet people or not. But that's where it happens. So you just never know. Just do things and see what happens.
And then you'd start doing improv in college. Why do you keep doing comedy now? Why is it still a thing for you?
It's where I express myself, and it also gives me something to do. If I figure out like what else would I be doing other than comedy, other than writing for Adventure Friends and doing Adventure Friends shows and all that, what else would I be doing? How else would I be creatively gratifying myself, so to speak? I mean, you've got structures in your life. Here's your professional career. Here's your personal life. Here's your creative.
Yeah.
Here's the creative leg of the table. You keep them all in balance.
Well, there's only 3, so it's a stool at this point.
There might be a fourth. There might be a fourth one in there. Is there a spiritual life? Maybe you have a spiritual life.
Okay, spiritual.
Fine.
Okay, we'll call spiritual leg for a 4th.
Professional, personal, spiritual, creative.
Okay.
And so writing for Adventure Friends and doing it and working with Shannon, working with Quentin, and working with Nina, and doing all the things, doing Dirtiest Sketch, doing Vaginamite, doing all that. It's fulfilling. It's creatively fulfilling, and and I feel good about it. And when I'm sitting in a Starbucks for 3 hours, typing on a laptop, coming up with stuff, it feels good to then put that stuff on stage and let people see it.
It's better to be the guy in Starbucks typing that people are actually going to see that stuff instead of the failing screenwriter.
Aside from that novel, yep, that National Novel Writing Month project that just won't gel. It just won't go.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Mike can be seen next with the rest of the Adventure Friends as they present No One Deserves to Die at Panera, opening for Goat Rodeo on Thursday and Friday, June 22nd and 23rd at Philly Improv Theater. Both of those shows are at 8:30, and tickets are available at fitcomedy.com. And we're still about a month away from my first sketch going live as part of Philly Podfest on July 23rd at Philly Improv Theater second stage. 4:30 Sunday afternoon. The incredible shrinking Matt and Jacquie are my guests. Tickets are available at myfirstsketch.com/July23. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com and like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Hyam. Thanks for listening. Go see some comedy.